You will just be seeing Jenny and Cody. My name's Jenny Burton. I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at Boardable. I'm new to the team and I'm super excited to be here and I'm really excited about this release as well. Cody, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. If you came to our last quarterly product release webinar, you saw me. I'm our Chief Product Officer here at Boardable. I joined back in March, so I'm not sure how many months that's been, 7+, I guess, at this point. And prior to this, I've been CPO for a few other firms specializing in MarTech and legal tech.
Awesome. Well, as some new folks are joining, I'm going to go ahead and actually start us off with a poll. I feel like everybody is a little bit in. I think as we get closer to Thanksgiving here in the U.S., everybody just gets a little bit closer to planning for the next year. So I'm going to go ahead and put up a poll about that for everybody, and then we'll get into the content in the next couple of minutes. Okay, if you are just getting into the webinar, feel free to participate in the poll itself. It looks like there's a clear winner from this audience so far, that kind of the areas that are a big challenge going into 2024 are boards, needs, and changes. I did make this that you could select several because I know a lot of us might have a few of these that apply. So feel free to select more than one with your responses as well for this. We'll do another poll a little bit later in the session, but we'll go ahead and jump into the content. Sound good, Cody?
Sounds great.
Okay, awesome. So we just covered that, and Cody and I introduced ourselves, but Cody is our Chief Product Officer here at Boardable, and I am the Director of Product Marketing, working on Cody's team, having a lot of fun, learning more about the Boardable product in the nonprofit space, something that I'm super passionate about and excited to be here. So we're going to talk about what's new, and then we're going to jump into a demo of a few of the features that we're going to highlight. We're also going to preview what's next, some themes that we're working against and some things that we're actively scoping and building with our team, talking a little bit about product feedback and some Q&A. We'll have one more poll snuck in there as well. All right, Cody.
Thanks, Jenny. So one of the things we did slightly differently for this quarter and this release is we really tried to thematically place everything. So rather than just doing sort of a disconnected group of features, we decided to build some themes. So this theme is all about making more time for the work that matters. And I'm sure, as all of you know, there isn't enough time in the day. There isn't enough time in the day to do what you need to do. There isn't enough time to focus on your mission. And we felt like there were several things like routine tasks, like attendance tracking and signature collection, that just took too much time. And so within Boardable, we decided to address some of those. And so we'll go in and we'll do a little bit of a demo on attendance tracking later, but we really like this particular theme. It's something that we'll continue to focus on as the year goes on. But we found that there were just several places within the app that truly we could just automate or improve or change the experience and really give you the time back to focus on your mission and your goals. One thing I'll say is these very quick sort of little vignettes that we have that run alongside the slides, totally recognize they're very fast. We will actually demo this feature, but they're just intended to give sort of a high level. We're going to send some emails, I think, Jenny, next week. They'll include some of these as well so that you can get a longer look at them if they run a touch fast. The second theme was all about your work, your way. So, the other thing that we've recognized is, in addition to getting time back, being able to customize your work to fit you and your organization. So one of the things, if you were in the last webinar, or if you have been with us for a few months, in the last 6 months, we focused on mobile app improvements. So first and foremost, we really updated both our iOS and our Android apps, and we brought them into parity, and we solved a lot of small issues with those, and we really cleaned those up and got them to a good baseline. What we've done this quarter is we've added functionality to allow you to work on them if that's your chosen medium. If you like working on a mobile app, if you need to, if you're traveling, we've added a few functions that we traditionally have always thought of as more web app focused functionality. We've added more control over documents, working with documents the way you want to or the way that you need to. And then we added some functionality around multi-day meetings. Multi-day meetings are something that if you're not using this functionality within Boardable, certainly consider it, because we have a lot of customers whose feedback drove this work. And we'll continue to work within this because we know retreats and multi-day events are a commonplace occurrence, and we want to make sure that we can support those as well as possible. And then last, certainly not least, one of the themes was very much around building and supporting a diverse board. And I would include inclusiveness here, right? Because when we look at Boardable, we want to make sure that it gives you the tools that you need to meet your organization's standards, but also allow, diverse perspectives and untapped skill sets, people with diverse backgrounds to participate fully. So when we talk about things like DEI collection and reporting, making sure that you're meeting your standards, we've added some features and functionality that are very much around capturing the right pronouns so that when you're working together, you're respecting the wishes and the needs of your board and your board members. And then in addition to this is something that we didn't release any additional software this quarter, but I want to loop into this our accessibility functions, because accessibility is really key for inclusiveness and inclusivity. And we do feel like our accessibility set of features is one of the strongest in the market. And we're really proud of it. We're really proud of the fact that we've invested there and that the value of Boardable can be accessed by all types of individuals and individuals with many different needs.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Cody. And with that accessibility investment, every time we build something, we think through and have to make sure it meets those accessibility standards and our accessibility tools. So it really is an ongoing investment that we make here at Boardable, which is really great. We are going to jump live and kind of highlight a few of the features that Cody has already briefly touched on, but wanted to dive into these a little bit deeper and give you a taste of what these really look and feel like inside the Boardable product.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. Going to go to the next slide. We'll talk about there we go. So we're going to do three of many, and I'll talk about the many as well here in a slide or two. The three that we chose, we think are all very interesting to a large subset of our customers and a large group of boards. We're going to start with auto attendance tracking and dial-in name recognition. So again, saving you that time and really automating something that, if you're using Spotlight, we felt like we could do for you and do very quickly and very effectively. The second one I'm going to go through is the document audit log. So the document audit log is a new piece of functionality that we've added to Boardable in request. Again, we've had many requests for this, which are, hey, how can I tell when someone has looked at a document or downloaded a document, or if the document name changed? I'd love to know when and who did this. So we've added a document audit log as part of our software package, and then DEI data collection. And also I'll show a little bit of reporting there as well, which is not only will I show you guys how to collect it, I'll show where you can actually report on your organization as a whole. So when you do get DEI data collected for everyone, you can export that and run some reports on it and actually do some analysis. So the first one I'm going to do is auto attendance tracking and dial-in name recognition. A, it's a mouthful, I'll admit to that. B, it's actually pretty hard to demo just by myself and demo live. So I'm going to do this with the demo that we recorded. I think we actually did this yesterday. And so I'll take you guys through it. I'll probably pause it a couple times just to kind of explain what exactly is happening at each stage in the meeting. But hang on one second and I will share that tab. Okay, so we start out, so David, our product owner, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, he's going to go ahead and start and join a meeting that we've already set up. We have a few attendees that are scheduled to be here with us. They've been added to the list. David goes ahead and starts the meeting. So one of the ways that we instantly identified that you want to be able to check on attendance is you're going to want to do this through the minutes. So there's no reason to have to write anything in the minutes. We can start the minutes. We can start them from scratch. Once we start these minutes from scratch, we can actually at that point add in the attendance component. And what you can see here is that David's been marked present auto. So David's already there. So it immediately marked him as present auto. We had another member show up for the meeting and join Spotlight, Emily Chen, also present. One of the things you can do to validate this is you can go back to the home screen and you can see that they're marked as in attendance here as well. David didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to open the minutes. It would have marked them as in attendance. You could do the minutes later if you wanted to. All of that was perfectly reasonable. He just went ahead and did this ahead so you could see it. We're now going to show you what dialing in looks like. So when you dial in, we give the dial in number and the PIN. In this case, Olivia Adams, I'm going to pause it for a second. Olivia Adams actually dialed in. And you can see that her name auto-populated. So you can see the phone symbol. Previously, this would have just shown Olivia's phone number. And it would have been, unless you somehow had knowledge of it ahead of time, you'd have to ask, okay, who else is on this call? In this case, as long as we have the phone number stored, it can be two-factor authentication, it can be a contact record. As long as we have their phone number stored, we'll attempt to reconcile that and put their name in so you can have a complete roster of everyone who's there. When you won't see it happen is if we just don't have their phone number anywhere, you will just get their phone number, but it'll give you a good sense at that point of, well, whose contact records, whose people records should I go in and update in the future? One thing I'll point out as I finish this video out is that Olivia didn't show up in the member attendance. That's only because we recorded it this week and we have an update going in place going into next week. So by next week, Olivia not only would turn into, her phone number would turn into her name would actually be put on the people record as well. So that's attendance tracking. That's how attendance tracking works. You can see if you had a huge number of people, if you had 50 people and they were all joining, it would immediately go through and mark them all as present auto. Another thing I'd like to point out there is we never mark anyone as absent because we don't know. We don't know if they're not there. It could be that, perhaps Olivia and David could have been sitting in the same room and they both could have been present using one device, and you wouldn't want to automatically mark them as absent and have to do work to unwind that. We also have a different status for if someone is present in that way, we mark them as present and there is no auto affixed to it. So you can tell the difference between, hey, who actually was here, joined, and it did automatically mark, and who did I mark as being present for this meeting.
Awesome, Cody. I know I'm going a little off script here, but we had a couple of really good questions while
Sure.
this is up, if that's okay.
Sure.
One was, would the attendance capture if someone signs on late or logs off early? Do you want to
Sure.
tackle that one?
Yeah, so we haven't built anything that's like incredibly intelligent as far as heuristics, right? It's very hard to tell if someone was going to be there and you said, hey, 5 minutes, at the beginning to vote is enough, we'll mark you as present, or hey, our rule is you have to be here for the majority of the meeting. So what we've done is we've made it very easy to change like what their status was. But if somebody joins the meeting for any length of time, as long as that meeting, you're in the meeting time zone. Like, so if it's 12 to 1 and I join at 12:15 for any length of time, it's going to mark me as present. So coming late still marks them as present. In that case, you might have already marked them as absent. That's okay. But it's going to do it for you. And you will have to go back if you decide, hey, Cody only joined for 30 seconds, so it would mark him as present. Let's go change that to absent so it's more accurately reflects it. That's how that would work. You do that yourself.
Awesome. And feel free to continue to drop in those questions in the chat. And we will have some Q&A dedicated time, but sometimes it's easier to answer these like while we're, just looking at it. There was another great question about, does this work with Zoom? And the answer is like the beauty of this being Spotlight within Boardable is that we already are completely integrated and can do this. It's something that really can't be done with Zoom. And that's kind of the great benefit of having the tool in Boardable, and then also having our minutes taking and our attendance taking tool all integrated across the board.
Yeah, it's funny that actually I had a call this morning with a potential customer of ours who asked me the exact same question, which was, hey, we use Zoom. Will this be able to do it? And unfortunately, no. I mean, we're at the stage where we built it with Spotlight. We know for sure in Spotlight that you're there. We can track that your video is working and that you dialed in. Unfortunately, these features don't carry over to Zoom. Doesn't mean that somewhere in the future we couldn't figure out a way to try and do something, but we don't have anything planned at this point to try that, considering we just released this one. Okay, so why don't we jump into document audit log? So again, one thing I'll say about this one in particular is certainly features like attendance tracking, great features, right? We don't hear about them that much. We don't get it as feedback from customers or prospects as often. Things like document audit logs, understanding an audit trail, knowing what somebody's done. These are things we hear a lot. So I probably should start to put an icon next to some of these ideas that we demo and that we show, like a C or something, because this is like directly from the mouths of customers and boards that said, hey, admins who were saying, I really need to know who has gone into which document. So great idea. We appreciate all of you that gave this feedback. So I've gone into the document center. I'm navigating to a set of documents. I'm going to go into the whistleblower policy protection doc. As you can see, it opens sort of as normal. If you haven't noticed, we've added a little icon up here, and this is the document info icon. And this document info icon, when you click it, it basically opens up and will show you when someone has viewed the document or when they've downloaded it, or if someone were to change the name, someone downloaded this document as a PDF. And as you can see, if you happen to have a lot of these, somebody was in here doing, a significant amount of viewing or downloading, right? You have a huge team and they're all getting in here and you wanted to see it. It builds a pretty long list. The good news is we do have the ability to download a report. I can click this. You guys probably won't see it because I'm sharing the window, but it just downloads as a CSV. You can import it into Excel and you could use that to very quickly go through a very long list. So if you had an older document that had hundreds of entries or records, you'd be able to download that and parse that at your leisure. We haven't done it yet, but we're kind of looking down the road at reporting based off of this. So making it easier where you don't have to download and pull into a spreadsheet, but just having a report for document views. So you can pick the document and have it come up and show you even stats just around how many people have viewed this, how many people have downloaded, et cetera. One thing I'd like to point out, because this is live, you guys can, if you're customers, you can use this today. One thing I would say is we have a slight delay between when you do something and when you show up. So you can see I viewed this, not at 1:52, but this is the time zone kind of throws me off here, but it's actually a little bit later than that, right? So this is a view I had done earlier. It just takes some time for that to update because otherwise you'll always see yourself at the top because we require that you view the document. I'm going to go a little off script here in the same way as Jenny. We also added some functionality for folders. So very similar for folders. Who's opened this folder and what have they done within it? So you get the same sort of idea of like, hey, who's been in here at all? And then what have they looked at? We actually just rolled the folders piece out recently. We did documents a few weeks ago. But that's the document audit log. We'll continue to evaluate updates and improvements to that. We really like the V1. It's really clean, looks really nice, gives you a really good sense of who's done what. But we definitely recognize that there are tweaks that are going to be needed as the feature matures. So as you get more and more people viewing, it may be sorting, it may be filtering, those sorts of things that you're going to want just so you can be sure find the data that you're looking for about a particular document. Any questions on that one, Jenny?
There was a relevant question that I wanted to bring up, and it was, can anybody see this information, or just admins? So
no, anybody can see this information. So we don't feel like this is proprietary. If you can't see the document, you can't see the information. That's kind of the litmus test for this one, which is, it's not like somebody could go into a document they can't see and get that. That's why we've actually put that icon behind the document itself. So if you think, oh, I can go see everybody that's looked at our budget and I don't have access to our budget, I'm not sure what you do with that information, but you actually can't. You have to be able to get into it to be able to look at it. Great question, though. Something we think about a lot as well. I mean, Jenny mentioned accessibility. We think a lot about security and, making sure that everything is always consistent. Not that there isn't a one size fits all rule for access and security, but we do feel like as long as we're consistent about the rules, you can adapt. You can make sure that you're putting your documents into groups and then ensuring that those people in those groups are the right people. As long as we kind of maintain that relationship, we feel pretty comfortable building to that rule set. Okay. Should we do last?
Yeah, let's jump into DEI. I see a few other questions coming in, and I just want to make sure everybody knows that we will be making sure that your customer success manager, or if you're a prospect, not currently a Boardable customer, that your assigned sales rep will reach out to you and walk through any of these questions as well that we don't get to today on the webinar. So have no fear. In the next couple of days, you'll get any questions answered and any additional help you need there.
Yeah, and we'll get into some more additional features too here shortly. Again, we're as sort of the quarterly webinars go out and we're releasing software. We're also going to be sending emails. We're going to be updating release notes. So there'll be a variety of resources that I think Jenny will talk about a bit later that your CSM or you will just have access to if you want to go deeper on any of the features and functionality. So I'm going to touch on a couple things here. I'm going to touch on probably pronouns first, because it'll be the first thing that shows up when I open up one of the people records. And then I'll get into DEI, and then I'll show the DEI reporting. So I'll go ahead and I'll call out something right away. Again, getting back to sort of security. I'm an admin for this particular account, so I can edit people's people record. If I wasn't, I could only do myself. So this would work either way if it was me. My preferred pronouns, I can easily come in and select any of these and say, hey, this is what I would like. I can pick other, at which point you can write in whatever you would like, and that will work as expected. I'll go with he, him in this situation and go ahead and hit save. Now, whenever my name comes up in Spotlight, also in discussions, it's going to have he, him on behind my name. So Cody Vendor, he, him. Very easy to change for a user. If your members aren't going to do this as an admin, it's easily done. You can jump in and add these. And it's, obviously once someone sees it in action, you might get more requests. So you might want to change yours first, just so that people know that functionality exists. In the same screen, we have DEI information. And this is pretty straightforward. We have a fairly small set of things that we wanted to add. It is not exhaustive, and it is by no means completely finished. What we wanted to do was give a pretty standard set and then see what feedback we got. And for the feedback that we get, which are the most commonly overlapping suggestions. So please feel free to give us feedback. We'll have a couple channels at the end to do so. But we'd love to know, is there something else that we didn't add into this section that would make sense? And then I have a little bit of a spoiler for next quarter around things that you might want to know, but don't exactly fit into this category. I'll talk about where we're going to go with that as well. So for me, this one's really, pretty straightforward. I can pick any of these. We added an other for every single one. We did the same thing for gender, and we did education. We didn't do an other here because we felt like this was pretty exhaustive. Open to feedback on that as well. Again, if you save it, you can go ahead and save that. In this case, I didn't even state what I was other than other. So you didn't have to have a value there. This is available for every single member. So every member can put this data in. If for some reason you're not comfortable putting in month, day, and year for birthday, you certainly don't have to. You can always just put in age, or you can if you can fill in all or none of this on a per member basis. I'm going to go to reports really quickly, because reports under the people report, if I choose report type, so if you're familiar with this screen, if I choose report type and I choose DEI, we've also updated this screen. If you haven't looked at it in a while, it used to be whenever you just picked a drop down, it would automatically kick off. Now we sort of wait and we say, hey, do you really want to run this report? Because sometimes you may not want to. You might just be switching these settings right away. Now you can see report type, DEI. This is all the data that has been put in. This was pretty much real time. So you can see that there's no value for my race, ethnicity. I chose other, but I didn't write anything in. And you can see my education, my gender. I don't have my age in there. None of this data is real, by the way. So no worries on this one. This is definitely a demo account. And so this is what the reporting looks like. And you can always download the CSV. So if you're running reports for your organization to show, hey, how are we doing? Do some charts, do some graphs. You can certainly do that with this data as well. And like I said, we're very open to feedback on what else would make sense. Last thing before I move past this, going back to this screen, one of the things that we're working on that, again, it's kind of a spoiler, so you'll definitely see it again next quarter and as we release it. We're actually adding another section in here that's going to be around custom member data. So this will be for my board members or for my organization members. I want a section that I can define what these fields are. So I could put height if I wanted to. I could put in, birth country, or I could put, let's say, achievement, like fundraising achievement. I could put all of these fields in, and every single one of my members would then have those fields that could be filled in for each one of them. So if for some reason it made sense for me to really understand, whether they had done their code of ethics training, I can have a yes, no field there. And then I can also expire that field, and I can attach a document to it, which could be my code of ethics, let's say letter or something like that. So I'm just saying all of this because I know that when we see DEI information, we'll think of things that don't quite fit into this category, but we'd want to know. We're building a repository for that data as well. So please feel free to send the feedback anyway. It may be that we give you a different tool to do it, but we'd love to hear what you want to track and why, and how that can help you and your board.
Awesome. Thanks, Cody. I think you hit on a lot of the questions that were coming in, especially around those custom fields. That feels like something a lot of folks are excited about, which is great to hear. There was a question about DEI visibility, if admins would be the only folks that were able to see that information. I will tell you, pronouns will be everywhere, right? Throughout the tool, anytime that pronoun's going to be with them, because that's where it's like most utilized. But as far as that rest of that DEI information, that would be admin only, correct, Cody? Yeah,
admin or yourself, right? So you can see your own, which makes sense. But we've limited that to admins at this point. It makes a lot more sense, especially you never know how sensitive some things may be, and we just sort of landed on the side of let's be a little more cautious here. There's really no reason for somebody to go in and engage with it. And let's say you're going to talk about aggregate stats in a committee meeting or a board meeting or something like that. An admin or someone like that can go in and actually just run the report and consciously choose whether to share some of that information.
Awesome. And I did want to make a note. There's been a couple of pieces of feedback about the text being small. This will be sent out to everybody, which may not solve that problem. And I'll also make sure to get a PDF out to folks as well. We recognize that some of the text is a little bit small, and maybe if you're having trouble reading it, I just want to let you know that we'll get this to you in some other format too.
Great call out. Yeah. So not to say that what you just saw, which is all great, and I think there's a lot of awesome functionality. I hope you all try. We also did a lot of other things, and I think some of these other things should be equally as exciting to many of you. Again, things like I would say like putting C's next to these would be really interesting, because so much of this comes from customer feedback. The DEI piece came from customer feedback. I took directly, maybe in week 2, with a face-to-face customer meeting. I'm going to go through some of these other items. We can certainly answer a few questions about these at the end, but to get really exhaustive on it, like I said, we're gonna be sending out emails. We'll be putting out the help documentation. CSMs and support will be able to help you with any of this if it's really interesting. For documents, a couple of really requested things, definitely disabling the download option. So some boards have said, hey, we really don't want anyone to be able to download this. Now, we can't make it perfectly secure because they could always hand transcribe down what they can see. They could take a screenshot of it. They could take a picture with their phone, but we can certainly make it a little bit harder by disabling the download. So now you'll have the option with a document to go into that document's information and say, I want to disable downloads for this, and it will actually make it so that there is no download menu item. You can't select it anymore. Multi-select capabilities. I want to select several documents inside of a folder, and I want to take action. So I want to go in and select these 3 out of these 100, and I want to delete them or move them or download them. So we've added multi-select capabilities. E-signature autosave and minutes. So e-signature for minutes. So we've added that capability to be able to add signatures and say, I want to go get these minutes signed and actually send it out through the same way we do e-signatures today. So all members can actually sign the minutes document, which we know has been something that has been asked for a lot. But we've also done something where we auto save the completed document. So there is no more download. So basically sign, download, upload back into the document center to get it where it needs to be. Now it will put it into the document center automatically. So you don't have to do, again, from a time savings, we just looked at that and said, this is a lot of unnecessary steps to get it where you need it to be. So it now will move in there once the document is completely signed. We just did the document and folder audit logs. Meeting time zone selection. This was another sort of time savings where it was possible if you had, didn't happen for every board, but if you had a board, like Jenny and I are in 2 different time zones. If I schedule a meeting, it's in my time zone. If she schedules, it's in hers. We went ahead and added the ability to add a time zone just directly to the meeting. So you didn't have to worry about this. If I wanted to schedule a meeting that I knew my entire team is Eastern time, I could just make it Eastern and everybody works off of that. And we know that we're working off the same time. The ability to remove remote RSVPs. So I want this to be an in-person meeting. You can't write back. So I made it an in-person only. You can't write me back and say you're going to be remote. We did the next 2, auto attendance and dial-in attendees. Meeting documents, enhanced workflow. This one, I'm trying to think of this one, Jenny. This one was, because the folder capabilities were all about being able to actually the agenda items, maybe this is what this one is all the agenda items going into, all the agenda documents going into a separate logical folder that's just for documents.
Yeah, it's just more of that automation, Cody, that just makes things easier and just organized better without having to, sort through quite as much related to how meeting documents will get saved from those agenda documents.
Exactly. So yeah, the meeting, it used to be you'd have to they wouldn't all show up in the meeting documents area. So now agenda documents will show up there in its own folder, but it's very logical. You can't actually put more documents in there and have them show up on the agenda. So it's really just a representation of here's everything that's actually in the agenda itself. We just did profiles. Additional features, we do have a couple here: enhanced mobile functionality, starting discussions, creating tasks, and I think updating profiles. So these 3 in particular, we're just adding to the mobile functionality so that for an admin, you don't necessarily have to go to a laptop and get online or, log in through the web version. We actually allow you to do this through the mobile app now, and we'll continue to evaluate what makes sense there. So if you're someone who says, I'm on my phone all the time, I'm always out and about, I want to be able to do certain things in the mobile app, please pass that feedback back to us. We're always looking for real world examples. We don't want to add things that people aren't going to use, but if there's something critical that's missing there that you can do in the web app, you can't do it in the mobile app, please just let us know. We would love to know that. And then flexible polling. So the ability to do a couple of things. One is being able to choose a write-in option. So I yes and no, I don't want one of these choices. I want to write in a third option. We've added that. And then the ability to go back before the poll closes and have someone change their answer. So, previously, once you submitted it, that was your answer. If the poll's open for another week and you for some reason decide, I don't want that to be my answer anymore, we now allow you to change your answer and resubmit that. So as you can see, a lot of stuff, it isn't even like the full exhaustive list, but it is pretty complete, and a lot of stuff in here that we hope brings a lot of time back to you and your team, and brings a lot of value to your process.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Cody. And maybe brings a little joy. I don't know. Maybe I'm like jumping ahead
Sure.
to December a little bit too much there. But I did also want to just make a note. You'll see an asterisk on the right side of several of these pieces of functionality. Those are pieces of functionality that are being released to our trial users. So if you're like some of these folks I'm seeing over here that might be in a trial or might be considering Boardable, you'll see those features in our trial. And then after that, quick trial period that you have, if you decide to be on the professional plan, or if you are on our professional plan, you will get all of those features that have an asterisk next to them. There's several features that don't have an asterisk, but the ones with an asterisk are for professional plan customers only. I just wanted to make a note of what that meant.
Yeah, good call out, Jenny. The one other thing I would raise, and I think it's because I talked about it in the first slide, and then I didn't demo it and I didn't talk about it here. The multi-day agendas are a pretty big feature if you're using multi-day meetings. And so if you are using multi-day meetings, if you have one that you're planning or that you'll be planning, really, we would really ask that you try out building your meeting, having your multi-day agenda. We'd love to get more feedback about that. We're going to continue to work on the multi-day concept. So working on minutes that work across multiple days, being able to build the right types of board packets or PDFs of the agendas, things like that. All of those we're going to be working on over the next few months. But multi-day meetings in particular, we just found when we asked customers, when we asked boards, hey, what's something that you're using that you wish worked slightly differently or worked very differently? Multi-day meetings came up a lot. This turns out to be something that a lot of boards do for events or for retreats, and the agenda piece of it has proven to be a big help so far.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that a lot of you are planning your retreats and offsites right now, going into 2024. So we'll also be getting some content and best practices of how to use Boardable to make those the most successful. So super relevant to some of the things that I'm working on as well. So I did want to go over a few release resources that are available. We do have a landing page that's dedicated to this release. That's kind of like the central hub where you'll be able to get a little bit more detail, see some of the content that we went through today. We'll put up the recording there as well. I'll find a way to put up the slides so that you can also see those in a PDF format as well. We have some feature-focused emails coming next week. So these are emails that'll just dive into one of the features a little bit more. I know there's quite a few admins on this call, hopefully some board members as well, but I did just want to make a note that these feature-focused emails are really great pieces of content that you can forward to your CEOs and your admin, or your CEOs and your board members, and say, hey, did you see this? I think you would get use out of this, especially if it's something that person might have struggled with in the past or might be relevant to, kind of their function. And then the help articles have been updated. So when you go and see the help articles around some of these different areas of the product, you'll see that these new functionality have also been updated there. So lots of great things and more to come and more to hit your inbox over the next week or so as we roll into the Thanksgiving holiday here. So and we're going to keep rolling along. And one of the things, Cody's going to talk a little bit about some forward-facing themes and things that we're working on. But one of the things that I did want to make sure that we got a question out to everybody was around what other tools you're using in addition to Boardable, if you are using Boardable, because that's just a really nice to be able to know where we should be considering, integrations and, different functionality and those types of things within Boardable. So I'm going to go ahead and submit my vote here and start to see some of these come in. We'll give you guys all a couple of minutes, or not minutes. I think this will take a couple of seconds and try to get a good pulse on where we are here and continue on. Anything else, Cody?
No, I was answering a few questions in the chat. So nope, we're good. Do you want to pop forward one slide? Is it moving? There we go. All right, so what's next? So a couple of things we really want to look at for not only the next quarter, but going forward long term. So next year, we want to be looking at these different themes. So additional automation. One of the things that I think this quarter has really taught us is there's so much room for us to improve the automated capabilities of Boardable. So our ability to look at a task or an activity and say, hey, how much of this did it really require an admin to do, or a CEO to do, or a user to do? How much of this could we do for them if using what we know or looking at their patterns? And so we're going to be evaluating that. We want to try and get this tighter and tighter to the point where you're only putting the time in that's really necessary, and the rest of your time is spent, doing a million other things, surely, but at least we can give you some of that time back so you can accomplish more of those things that really matter to you. The other one is a really, really big one, which is improved experiences for board members. We're really looking at, we hear a lot, the variety of members that you're going to get on your board, from very tech savvy to not as tech savvy, and comfortable with getting into Boardable and doing things, and uncomfortable or unwilling to. And so we really want to look at, how do we give a broad spectrum of experiences that can meet all of those needs of a particular board? And so we're looking at experiences when it comes to just getting into Boardable, or even if they have to get into Boardable, or if we can give them the information they need in a different way, right? Whether that's by email and SMS, whether that's through a dedicated landing page, looking at login-less sign-ins. So being able to use, let's say, SMS to actually use a code to log in, as opposed to having to remember a password or where to go. So we're really looking at the board member experience, in addition to everything we're doing on the admin side to make, managing your board easier and better, and hopefully, as Jenny said, more joyful. We also want to look at the other side of the coin, right? Because we know board member satisfaction, really important to the health of a board. It's important to getting things done and feeling prepared and making a difference. And so that's something we've done a lot of work. We built a lot of prototypes around that to test and to start to look at options there. I won't say that we've chosen a particular path, like we're definitely going to go down this path, but we have a lot of things we want to test and look for, because I don't believe there's a one size fits all solution for improving those experiences. And then innovation through education, right? We're gonna in addition to just building more software and building things that matter to all of you, we also want to make sure that we're giving you content that really helps you, and use cases for how are folks using Boardable, and is it in a way that you wouldn't have thought of? As we add more and more functionality, there's going to be features that are significantly underutilized. And so, the callback to accessibility today as part of our inclusivity and diversity work, that you'll see that frequently. We want to keep bringing up things that we think boards and admins and members can use, that we just don't think are being fully utilized by, our customer base. So we're not just going to focus on building. Jenny has been an amazing add to the team. She's brought so much energy and thought and skill to our group. We really want to make sure that not only are we building software, but we're helping you guys use it to the best of your abilities. So that's a small snippet of what's next. And, again, we're going to be doing these quarterly. So we want to, these webinars are going to be a great way for you guys to continue to see what's coming up, what have we been doing, and get to ask some questions about how you can use it and what it can do.
Awesome, Cody. And one of the fun use cases I was talking to a customer about the other day was simply they were using some of the accessibility tools because they enjoyed getting some of the content read to them just as they were getting ready in the morning or something along those lines. And so it was kind of neat to see that type of use case that wasn't necessarily the original intended or what it was built for. And just so much of accessibility is really just really good user experience and user interaction. So that's great. We do want to remind you that we're always open to product feedback. There's a ton just in the chat today. Don't worry, we're capturing that. We're getting all of that as well. But really the best way, just as you're using the product and wanting to give us some more user feedback is email your customer success manager. They are going to be able to help take that user feedback and then also maybe offer some solutions. If there's a specific reason that you're needing a new feature or functionality, there might be a workaround that they've used, or just like an innovative use case that we talked about earlier. Contact support, and then send us suggestions directly to the product team. Productfeedback@boardable.com comes to Cody, my counterpart David, and myself. And so, we're open ears. I'm always trying to make the best software for nonprofits and their boards. So we're super excited about that in our mission here. I'm going to see if we can grab maybe 1 or 2 Q&As, and then we will, like I said, make sure that these get followed up. There are a lot of questions about the recording. Anybody that registered for this event is actually going to receive the recording directly through Livestorm, which is where we host our webinar events. So you'll get that recording automatically. If somebody registered and wasn't able to attend, they'll also get that. We'll also be putting it in lots of places around Boardable, including in the product, as well as emails to all of our admins as well. And let me see if there's anything else that we can grab out of here. Did you see any, Cody, that you wanted to pick up?
I think we've answered a lot of them.
Okay.
There's been a question. There's one more question about CRMs. It is something that we're evaluating. So we've gone down a path of developing a Salesforce integration in the past. We never really rolled it out to everyone. It's very hard to find exactly what's going to work for as many customers as possible, but we haven't shelved that idea. We do hear this one a lot. So keep your ears open. As we move down that path, I'm very interested in building sort of a CRM agnostic layer where we can tie together Boardable with any kind of data and say, bring that in. There was another question that was also about like donation tracking that I think could make a lot of sense given we have goals and we have custom member data. There are some things that we could do there. I will just say, thank you guys for the chat. Like I just very quickly, it was my first time as I was sitting here scrolling through, so many great ideas in there. I saw surveys in there. I saw some Zoom feedback in there. I saw some board member onboarding feedback. So thank you all for that. We will catalog all of that. We'll pull that all into the database and put it alongside the other feedback. And we will definitely be using it to help us sort of shape how we think about the go forward for the product.
Absolutely. Just to leave you on a note, we're continuing to innovate here at Boardable, investing in the product, building new features. It's a super exciting time to be an employee at Boardable, but hopefully also to be a customer. If you have any questions, feel free to email success@boardable.com. Sign up for a trial or for a demo on our website if you're not a current Boardable customer, and we'll look to having another one of these at least next quarter, as well as maybe some other great content in between now and then. So thank you everybody so much for joining. I'm excited to be digging into these challenges with you.
Thanks everyone.